Bug type, my favorite type. Let's get into the Bugsy theme deck. Starting with Sky Ridge Weedle. It's a good one, 50 HP. For 1 energy, you either flip a coin and have a 50% chance of paralyzing or 50% chance of poisoning. Even better is the Sky Ridge Kakuna that it evolves into. With Kakuna, that poison is a 100% certainty for 1 energy, and you get the Exoskeleton Pokebody, which is going to reduce incoming attacks by 10. Very useful early game in both regards. And I bet you're thinking, Shuckle, isn't this just going to be Speed Drill? Didn't you already do a video on this? Well, how about you shut your mouth, because there are other Beedrills that I like and that are playable and good. Triple Poison is a great attack for only 1 grass energy. It's almost always going to make your opponent swap. And if they don't, then you get to reap the benefits because they're just taking damage and you don't have to do anything. There's not a whole lot of reason to really go for Pin Missile and add 2 more grass energy onto Beedrill. Instead, you want to be saving those 2 grass energy for Pokemon like Scyther that can deal 40 damage for 2 energy. A great Haymaker card that did not see as much play as it should have. Thanks to Double Gust, there's really no drawback to Slashing Strike, and it resists fighting. We've already talked about how resisting fighting is really good in this theme deck format, and a weakness to fire is going to get you pretty far because how many fire types are you running into against Johto gym leaders? And is this the first time I've actually been able to put a Shuckle in a deck? Here we go. Vase Body Pokepotty reduces all damage done to Shuckle by 20. Yes, Poisonous Saliva is a little costly for what it does, but early game, especially in this format, you're going to be preventing damage, and this Shuckle's going to last a lot longer than you think. Yanma is another underrated Pokemon in my opinion. Shockwave is a great spread damage attack for spread decks, and Swift allows grass types to hit steel types without factoring in resistance. Plus it has free retreat, which is great for comboing off of a Double Gust with Slashing Strike Scyther. This Bugsy theme deck has 12 basic Pokemon, and Pokemon Fan Club is going to help you search those out. Ideally, you are getting a Weedle going early game, if not starting with one. Shuckle is also a great Pokemon to start with, even though there's only 2 copies in here. Ideally, you're going to be inflicting a lot of poison early game, which is going to make your opponent either swap out and waste some resources in the process, or just let that poison damage accumulate to the point of almost being knocked out, at which point Yanma's going to be a great cleanup Pokemon mid to late game. Your draw power is going to be coming from 3 copies of Professor Elm and a full play set of Bill from Legendary Collection. Just some straight up draw. As mentioned earlier, you're also going to be dealing with a full playset of Double Gust. That way you can combo off of Scyther's Slashing Strike with your free retreating Pokemon like Beedrill and Yanma. Bug types are traditionally a little low on the HP side, but Neowon is here to support those fragile Bugmons with cards like Goldberry and Focus Band, which we will be running a full playset of each, just to keep those bugs alive longer, keep those poison counters stacking, and in the case of Yanma, spreading more damage around. Especially in a theme deck type format like we are building upon here, Goldberry is an extremely powerful card because you're not looking at a ton of Pokemon that can just OHKO anything that's on the field. You're looking at Pokemon that can deal 20 to 40 damage per turn. So every time a Goldberry is activating, you are buying yourself another turn of gameplay. This build is a little bit tool heavy, so you do have to kind of pick and choose where you are placing tools depending on the situation you find yourself in. Besides the Focus Band and Goldberry, the last one is going to be a couple copies of Strength Charm. Your mileage with Strength Charm is going to vary depending on whether you are playing with the errata or not. If you notice, Strength Charm doesn't specify damage done to the defending Pokemon. So for spread attackers like Yanma, Strength Charm is actually going to enhance damage done to all Pokemon. So instead of doing 10 damage all around the board, you're going to be dealing 20 damage. But Strength Charm did get an errata that said to the defending Pokemon. So if you're playing with that, then it's still pretty useful for a lot of these attacks that are only dealing 10, 20, in the case of Scyther, 40 damage. Sometimes Strength Charm is going to be the difference between you getting a KO or not. The rest of the deck is going to get filled out with grass energy. No special energy in this deck. Nothing too fancy. What I found in playtesting this deck is that it can actually be a beast in the early game as you don't have a whole lot of threats to look out for that are going to be OHKOing your Weedles or your Scythers or Yanmas or Shuckles. So you actually have the time to get the 1 or 2 energy you need onto any of those Pokemon and either haymaking with Scyther or getting some poison stacks on your opponent's Pokemon with any of the other bugs in this deck that can poison your opponent's active Pokemon. Beedrill is an early game monster. This selection of bugs gets you top dollar for each grass energy that you're attaching to them. And they're all very easy to build up, to get into play thanks to Pokemon Fan Club, and to swap out with one another depending on what you're facing on the other side of the field thanks to free retreaters and support from your Pokemon tool cards. If you are wanting to change it up, what else does Bugsy have access to in Neon? Well, first and foremost, the Caterpie line, so let's look at the available Butterfree. They're all pretty high costed to use as attackers, and as a stage 2 Pokemon with only 70 or 80 HP, you are looking for at least some energy efficiency or the ability to hit super hard. Butterfree is not going to do either of those things. The Discovery, Southern Island, and Legendary Collection reprint Butterfree all have attacks that can inflict special conditions, as well as either prevent damage or gust your opponent's Pokemon back to the bench. Disruptive attacks that can be useful, but you are using up a lot of deck space just to evolve up into Butterfree, attach the energy, and actually use those attacks when there are better bug options for doing all of those things. Now, for the E-Card Butterfree, you do have that Miraculous Powder Poke Power, which is going to be able to remove special conditions. But for the type of deck that we're looking to build for a theme deck styled format, it's not all that useful unless you have a Pokemon that is inflicting a special condition on itself, like you see in the Butterfree Vileplume archetype in E-Card. So if there was some other bug Pokemon that this Butterfree could combo with very easily that is self-inflicting a special condition at the cost of dealing a whole bunch of damage, then it would fit perfectly in this deck, but that's not the case, and so none of the Butterfree really fit the energy curve very well. While Weepinbell and Pupitar don't quite fit the Bugsy requirements for a bug-type deck, Pincer and Heracross are Pokemon that do pop up on Bugsy teams. The only Pincer available in Neon is from Aquapolis, and it is super hit or miss. Literally, you have to hit coin flips for this card to be able to do anything. Even Horn Grab, 20 damage for 2 energy. If you flip tails, this attack does nothing. Super Slice, you have to flip 2 coins. If either of them is tails, this attack does nothing. So even if you have the energy attached, even if you are declaring attacks, most of the time, this Pincer is still going to do nothing. It should not be in any deck. It shouldn't even be in print. Similarly, Heracross cards have a big energy investment for some coin flips. For a Heracross inclusion, the Skyridge copy is probably going to be your best bet just because it is so vanilla in how it attacks. There's no coin flips involved. The atrocious artwork excuse of a Heracross from Destiny is just mid as mid can be, and the one from Neo Genesis is very situational. So if you think you're going to be able to create a situation where Megahorn is dealing 120 damage 50% of the time, that may be worth it for you. Not for me. As for Forretress, one of the forgotten bug types of Gen 2, there are a couple of grass type cards that fit the bug theme. Skyridge Forretress has a decent Pokebody for a theme deck format, but Shell Rupture for 2 energy is going to be dealing some great spread damage, which can either replace or combo with the Yanma that we already have in the main build. Dark Fortress from Destiny is a bomb. That's pretty much it. You drop it into play, you deal a bunch of damage and knock itself out. I like it as a card, especially in a theme deck format. I think it has a lot of power in this type of gameplay, but Dark Fortress didn't really seem like Bugsy's the kind of thing, not fitting in with the Bugsy motif. So we'll save Dark Fortress for a later deck. And we can't talk about bugs without mentioning my beautiful boy, my Shuckles. Genesis Shuckle is an early game staller, which we're not really looking for with this style of deck, so it got cut. And Revelation Shuckle is very similar to the Shuckle that actually made the cut for the deck. in that it has a poke power that can stall a bit. It can prevent damage early game, just in a different mode. So with Hard Shell, if the attack that is damaging you is dealing 40 or less damage, you just reduce it to 10. I prefer the E-Card Shuckle that just reduces damage across the board. Both Shuckles have 2 energy poisoning attacks. In the case of Toxic Saliva, you are dealing double poison damage between each turn, so it does fit very well with the same type of triple poison thing we have going on with that Discovery Beedrill. So if you're wanting to go a little more Shuckle heavy, Revelation Shuckle is a really good swap in, or an addition to the deck, just depending on what you want to do. It makes me very happy to just say the words Shuckle is a good fit for this deck, because that has almost never been the case. Shuckle GX may be the closest we'll ever get to that. And that is the Bugsy deck. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know what additions or changes you would make. Let me know what gym leaders or other characters you are excited to see theme decks for in this series. As always, thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, just do all the regular YouTube stuff. Comment, like, share. Hope you're having as much fun with this content as I am creating it. I'll see you next video.